Test. Looks like we are live here waiting for the podcast to begin. So remember, if you're watching this early, like and subscribe to the channel if you aren't subscribed already. And gotta turn down my own audio, just checking to see that my stream is working properly. Hopefully we're not going to have any stream warnings from
1 minute until
from
showtime
YouTube this week, because hopefully the new internet speeds will make it so that I'm no longer streaming at lower rates. We will see. Otherwise, I then have to go into my OBS and try and work that out. So, 3 likes already. Welcome to those who have liked it already. 2 concurrent viewers. I'm sure one's probably Aaron. We will see. Hey, that is Aaron. Look at that. That's right, Dab. What's up, Jolie? Trucker John, how's it going? Show will go live in about 30 seconds, so appreciate y'all joining in early. Hey, Kinky Streets, what's going on? We're getting ready to hear the theme music, I think. If I set it up properly, like sometimes I forget.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Using gerrymandering, voter suppression, and other nefarious tactics, the Republican Party has manipulated our electoral system to maintain as much control as possible despite being a party in the minority. Liberal Dan Radio seeks to change that, and I need your help in doing so. Liberal Dan Radio has partnered with Levelfield to help us use tools that are typically only available to big money donors. When you go to stopthecoup.liberaldan.com and make your contribution, it will encourage other voters to reach out to their legislators to pass legislation to stop gerrymandering and voter suppression, and target elected officials who refuse to protect the vote. Every eligible voter should be able to cast a ballot, and that ballot should have the same power as everyone else. I can't do this alone. I need your help. So please go to stopthecoup.liberaldan.com and make your contribution today. That's stopthecoup.liberaldan.com. stopthecoup.liberaldan.com. Political advertising paid for by Levelfield. Contributions are not tax deductible as charitable contributions.
From New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. That is 914-803-4131. We are also live on YouTube's cast. You can leave your comments, questions, concerns, etc. over on the show thread at liberaldan.com, facebook.com/liberaldan, or at Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, or leave your comments here in the YouTube comment section as well. At the bottom half of the hour, we are going to be talking about the Liberal Dan Radio Multiverse, and I've been a little vague about what that means, but you know, we will get there at the bottom half of the hour, and so I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. It was partially brought on by some other arguments that I've been having on Twitter recently. So we'll go over that, and we'll explain what I mean by that, and how we're going to have fun with it. I want it to be more interactive than normal. I mean, I do interact with the audience, but I do want it to be a little more interactive. More audience participation in the chat for that particular topic. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to share this video live stream to let everybody know that I'm live. If you haven't liked it already, give it a like. And if you haven't subscribe to Liberal Dan Radio. It's the cheapest and easiest way that you can help support the podcast. I have a goal of, by the end of September, I want to make it to 1,000 subs. So you can make that happen by helping to support the show by sharing it everywhere you can. You can also support the show by contributing to the Liberal Dan Radio Patreon. Go to patreon.liberaldan.com, or you can go to the liberaldan.com and click the Buy Me a Cider link, or just go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio, and you can give me a one-time contribution as well. Or you can do both. Either way works. Anyway, so first thing that I want to talk about, we have some kind of big news from Chris Murphy from Connecticut, a deal, at least in theory, about a bipartisan group of 20 senators. Before I get into all that, I did have one thank you to give. Wes, you did contribute to the Buy Me a Coffee, and I didn't get to acknowledge that live, so I am acknowledging you now. Thank you very much. Gypsy also contributed to the Buy Me a Coffee and contributed and started becoming a Liberal Dan Radio patron as well. So thank you all both for that, and thank you the existing patrons and Buy Me a Cider supporters as well. Back to the topic at hand. So we have Chris Murphy who tweeted out that there was at least a deal in theory about a gun violence legislation that could possibly happen. I'm not holding my breath. But 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans have gotten together, and according to his Twitter account, it includes major funding to help states pass and implement crisis intervention orders, red flag laws, that will allow law enforcement to temporarily take dangerous weapons away from people who pose a danger to others and themselves. And hopefully that comes with some due process. I think that there should be, in the long-term, due process to make sure that they are not wrongfully having their guns seized. Another billions in new funding for mental health and school safety, including money for a national build-up of community mental health clinics. That's something that's sorely needed and will help. Closing the boyfriend loophole so that no domestic abuser, spouse, or serious dating partner can buy a gun if they are convicted of abuse against their partner. So it's not just about spouses, it's also about partners as well. The federal law against gun trafficking and straw purchasing. This will be a difference to stop the illegal flow of guns into cities, or the flow of illegal guns into cities, whichever way you want to word it. That's important because a lot of times when people talk about Chicago and all the other big cities, all the big cities are run by Democrats and they have all the gun problems. Well, the problem is that you can bring a gun from outside the city where the gun laws are lax and then bring them into the city. So it doesn't do any good if the city has a gun law but the surrounding counties do not, or the other state does not, and you buy it from another state. Enhanced background checks for under 21 gun buyers and a short pause to conduct the checks. Young buyers can get the gun only after the enhanced check is completed. So it's not universal background checks, but it's a start. Clarification on laws regarding who needs to register as a licensed gun dealer to make sure all truly commercial sellers are doing background checks. Because again, people talk about the gun show loophole, and people's like, well, there's no loophole. It's just private sellers get to sell. But people claim themselves as being private sellers without actually being a private seller, while making money off of selling multiple guns. So that's the thing, but in my opinion, and what this is not going to be reflected in this law, is that any transfer of weapons from or guns at least, from one person to another should have a paper trail, should be able to show, okay, this person bought this gun, and then this gun was then transferred to this person either as a gift or whatever, but there still should be a background check and a paper trail to make sure that you follow the chain of custody. And somebody can claim that it got lost at some point if one has ever committed a crime, but if you keep losing too many guns, then people are going to raise eyebrows at you and think that you're not really losing the guns, that you're doing something else with them instead. Last thing, Chris Murphy says, will the bill do everything we need to end our nation's gun violence epidemic? No, but it is real, meaningful progress and breaks a 30-year logjam, demonstrating that Democrats and Republicans can work together in a way to truly save lives, which is good. Now, of course, there are conservatives out there who will be like, well, it's not going to stop all gun shootings, so therefore we shouldn't do it. Just like they said, masking doesn't prevent everybody from getting COVID, or vaccines doesn't prevent everybody from dying from COVID, so therefore, why are we going to take them? And well, that's not a very good logical argument, because if it reduces the harm, then it's a good thing. So good thing for good steps. The people who took part in it: John Cornyn, Kristen Sinema, Tom Tillis, Senator Toomey, Joe Manchin, Blumenthal, Collins, Graham, Coons, Heinrich, and Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, shockingly enough. And there are others who joined in as well. Of course, they still have to write the laws, and it still has to pass. If you, just because it got 10 Democrats and include Kristen Sinema and included Joe Manchin, it doesn't mean that some other senator who's a Democrat might stop in and say, you know what, this doesn't go far enough, so I'm going to block it. So that could happen too. There's no guarantees that it won't happen. So there's the there's the rub there. We have to hope that the people on, at least the Democratic side, for once, will get in line and do what needs to be done to get some progress finished. Whereas usually it's just the Republicans getting in line, and it's the Democrats having to do the herding of cats. Where you talk about COVID in there? Have a big show of cheering on anybody who gives them up, put them on TV. What, with the guns? I mean, I don't think anybody's arguing that people should be that all people should be giving up guns. I mean, there are people who perhaps who are a danger to other people who shouldn't have guns, but nobody's arguing that there's like more guns than people in the United States. Nobody's saying that we're going to seize every single weapon and get it taken away. No. I have no problem with law-abiding citizens owning a gun for their own protection if they so deem it. Now, there's some studies that show that it might not necessarily be as effective as one might think. And there are people can go hunting, and that's fine. I have no problem with hunting either. But I haven't hunted, but I'm not going to begrudge other people who do. But the problem is that, some people clearly shouldn't have guns. So, Wes Webb, just keep telling all your Republican friends that elections are fixed. Yes. Keep telling them that's again, Hal always mentions this, and I thought it was weird too that Donald Trump in 2020 was saying how rigged the elections were and making it so that less people in Republicans in Georgia would show up for the election, which helped the Democrats retake the Senate. Ironic actions are ironic. So that's good news on the front of gun control. We of course will follow that as we go. We will be doing that. Of course, I've been having my arguments with V Radio. They've spilled over onto Twitter. We've had reactions on reactions. And it's getting a little bit absurd and ridiculous, and he's getting a little bit absurd and ridiculous. Hey, Bill P, how's it going? Hey, Julie Swenson. Anybody else who haven't said hi? Oh, Demonox, Brian Preston is here. We're living in the darkest timeline. 6 seasons in a movie. Yes. Maybe there will be a Liberal Dan movie. Maybe that's part of the multiverse. You'll see and find out. Let's see what's next. We got a couple. I did called into. We're talking about the January 6th hearings, and do we want to go? No, we won't. We're not doing that yet. We went to the January 6th hearings, and there's, of course, with January 6th, my favorite one to pick on is terrorist Barbie, i.e. Ashley Babbitt. And you ever just piss off a conservative just so bad that you made them just start repeating themselves over and over and over again? Well, this is what I did.
Ashley Babbitt. If Ashley Babbitt was a black woman breaching a locked door through a broken window and got shot, y'all would have all said, why didn't she comply? You wouldn't. It wouldn't matter that she was a veteran. It wouldn't matter.
Liberal Dan, I'm really disappointed that you went there in that direction. Thank you for your call. That has got nothing to do with it, okay? She was shot and killed inappropriately by that officer. There was no reason for him to shoot and kill her, whether he was white, he was black, she was white, she was black. It's an offensive remark that you're making that I'm only advocating for because she's white.
So he got big mad over the fact that I pointed out the fact that I don't hear any. I didn't just point out him. There's no conservative commenter. There's no conservative pundit that I've heard that have said, well, maybe Ashley Babbitt should have complied to police orders, and maybe she shouldn't have been doing an illegal thing, and she wouldn't have wound up getting shot. However, when talking about all of the cases pretty much dealing with the Black Lives Matter protests are dealing with, from George Floyd, Alton Brown, Sterling, even Philando Castile. You had all of these people who ended up dead or harmed. Not all of them were. I think all of those were dead. All of those people end up dead or harmed. And you have the situation where the conservative pundits will say, well, maybe they should have complied, or maybe they shouldn't have been doing the bad activity that they were doing, and then they wouldn't have been dead. Should have been taking their risks into their own hands. Well, no. I mean, I'm going to call that out. And maybe he's not overtly and consciously thinking of the fact that, that his support for Ashley Babbitt is only because she's white. But if I never hear him or anybody else who's a conservative pundit make arguments for any white person shot by the police, well, maybe they should have complied and they wouldn't have been killed. Meanwhile, you hear people saying with black deaths by police, maybe they should have complied. Maybe they should not have been breaking the laws. Maybe they shouldn't have resisted arrest. All the things that aren't justification in and of themselves of using deadly force by police. So yeah, I'm going to call that out every time. I have yet to call him back. I'm giving a little breather to be able to say, you know what? Let him sit on it a while. Let him stew and let him relax, and then I'll call back in maybe Friday again and be like, you know what? I want to explain to you my thought process here, and maybe you could get a better idea as to why I think the way I do. And maybe, just maybe, you might have a change of heart and understand why I would think that part of your criticisms or lack of criticism of Ashley Babbitt is because she's white. Because it is. And there was no reason for the officer to shoot a terrorist Barbie? Yes, there was. She was trying to breach a locked door through a broken window in front of a crowd of people shouting that they wanted to hang Mike Pence, when Mike Pence was somewhere on the other side of that door. Clearly, any officer looking at that would be like, these people have deadly intent, and we have the right to use deadly force. We have the authority to use deadly force to stop people with deadly intent. Now, there could have very well been many more bodies on the floor that day, and I think that if you had the opposite situation, if you had Donald Trump victory and a bunch of left-leaning folks marching on the Capitol and doing the same things that these insurrectionists did, I think not only would you have seen nobody complaining about the alternate universe version of Ashley Babbitt had she been black. Again, Liberal Dan Radio Multiverse. We'll get more to that in a little bit. But you would see, Donald Trump would have called the National Guard to stop it from happening, and there would be a gigantic pool of blood in the peace circle. And anybody who followed my live stream on the first night of the hearings would understand why I get a kick out of the peace circle, because if you listen, nobody really emphasized the difference between peace and circle. It wasn't peace circle, it was the pea circle. So they were talking about pee. And every time I heard it, I was just like, 13-year-old me just had to chuckle. I think I told some people this. I don't know, maybe I didn't. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. But back when they removed General Lee from Lee Circle in New Orleans a few years back, they were trying to determine whether or not they were going to what they were going to name it. And I think they landed on Tivoli Circle or something else at Tivoli Circle, or I don't, whatever. I forget what they're calling it now, but it somehow relates to the old name of Tivoli Circle. But I was saying, usually you have a lot of Mardi Gras parades that go around that circle. So just line the thing with porta potties the entire year, and then you could then just call it P Circle. Yes, Jolie's like, the rest of us couldn't stop hearing it too, because I brought it up and everyone else was like, oh. I was like, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, but yeah, the January 6th hearings just continue to go on, and we've learned some stuff from it. Do I want to take the first break? I guess I could go ahead and take the first break. There it is. So we will take the first break. I'll go ahead and wet my whistle a little bit, not alcoholic drinking wise, but I'll go ahead and, take a sip of drink so I don't start coughing fits or whatever by having too dry of a throat. But again, you can support the show. Call in 914-803-4131. Remember to like the video, share it with your friends, and support the show via the various ways we'll get to when we come back. This is Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.
Are you planning a trip to Disney soon? Do you want help avoiding spending mistakes and making the most of your vacation? Then check out Budgeteers.com, a new site devoted to helping you get the most mouse for your money. What kinds of tickets should you get? Is the dining plan a good deal for you? Should you stay on grounds or not? Should you buy park hoppers? Many other sites are filled with information about what other people like to do, but Budgeteers is geared to help you make the best decision for you. So check out Budgeteers.com or go to YouTube.com/Budgeteers and help make your trip the best it can be. Budgeteers.com is not a travel agency and it is not affiliated with the Disney Corporation or any of its holdings. In a world gone mad, one progressive will do a bad movie trailer guy impression to get you to listen to his show. There's only one thing that I like better than the Liberal Dan Radio Minicast. Alright, Bill, that's enough of that. On the Liberal Dan Radio Minicast, you will hear an honest discussion of the day's issues, with some personal bits in between. You might even hear what the other side has to say, sometimes even in their own voices. So become one of the Liberal Dan family, because family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. To hear those bad impressions and more, tune into the Liberal Dan Radio Minicast. Talk from the left, that's right. And I think to myself, what a wonderful show. Yeah. If you enjoy Liberal Dan Radio, there's many ways that you can support the show. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can like me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter or TikTok. And you can become a Liberal Dan Patreon. For as little as $3 a month, you can get a shout-out. Higher levels get the opportunity to vote on what I do next on the podcast, the Minicast, or on YouTube. You can even buy commercial advertising or sponsor bits. So go to patreon.liberaldan.com and support the show today.
Hey there, podcast listeners. This is Demonox, host of The World According to Knox. It's time for Season 2, where I take you on another trip through my world. The world of movies, video games, pop culture, and more. Relate them to the world around you. Don't forget to leave a question for Marscat, and find me on Twitter by the handle XDeminox. That's the letter X like X-Men, DEMINOX. Now enjoy the rest of your podcast.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. Join us in the chat if you're live at youtube.com/Liberal Dan Radio or just youtube.liberaldan.com. It's the easier way to get there. Or you can always support the show or leave your comments after the show on the website, liberaldan.com, facebook.com/liberaldan, at Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, or again here on YouTube in the comment section of the video. If you notice, one of the other ways you can support the show is to contribute with a Venmo. Actually, I should do it this way. Venmo is right here with my right hand. I was able to, I got that together and just added it to the screen. Soon I'll just have so much stuff on the screen where you won't be able to see me. I can't tell if that's a good thing or not. That's up to y'all to decide. But so yeah, we got before we go a little bit more into January 6th, I did want to play this week's Hypocrite of the Week, which is based on some information that is not necessarily completely sussed out or or completely verified, so I'll just state that up front. But if true, very much deserving of the Hypocrite of the Week this week.
This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Lauren Boebert, who, according to the American Muckrakers PAC, had 2 abortions, one because of her escort work on a sugar daddy website. She also used Planned Parenthood for at least one of those abortions. Boebert ran as a family values candidate and has voted to defund Planned Parenthood and to take away the choices that she had. To see who next week's Hypocrite of the Week will be, tune in to Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan.
And there you go. And I want to make clear, Liberal Dan Radio is a sex-positive podcast. We support sex workers, and we think it's a valid way to make a living if you so choose to do so. Body autonomy includes the right to be able to sell it as you wish, not just sell it to employers that are not in the sex trade like the rest of us do. And we also support unlimited access to abortions, that you should be able to abort pregnancy that you feel that you need to abort. I don't support any exceptions to that. And so if Lauren Boebert had 2 abortions, she should have had every right to do so. And if she did do escort work, which is it alleged, again, this one website that was correct about Madison Cawthorn, has shown this other information as well, has some receipts to show to help corroborate the evidence, but it's obviously Boebert is denying everything. But if true, it is extremely hypocritical of her for both being the so-called, part of the family values party or what have you, and for, trying to defund Planned Parenthood and ban abortions when she used Planned Parenthood to have an abortion, allegedly. So, yeah, Boebert has other issues as well, like she has been in jail. She blackmailed or bribed her sister-in-law to shut up, so that some incident about a car accident didn't come up till after the campaign. She's the one that made the horrible anti-Islamic comment about Ilhan Omar. Her husband gets hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from oil companies, and he's somebody who is consulting them. I don't know what he consults them on because he has no experience in the field, but she, by default, through her husband, is basically in the pockets of Big Oil, who basically get to give her family a $400,000 a year bribe to be able to support Big Oil and gas interests in Congress without having to go through the whole process of, pesky things like campaign contribution laws and other regulatory issues that might arise in other situations. So, hey, Kimchi, how's it going? Good to see you in the chat. Thank you for joining. And anybody else who may have joined. Bill P. is amazed that Boebert is invited to speak at so many churches. He is such a holy person. There's such a dirty comment I could make there. I'm going to choose not to do it, and I'm disappointed in myself for choosing not to do it. But you could come up with it yourself. Apparently, according to the website, and according to the person who was who shared information with the website and the Muckraker PAC, her business as an escort was pretty much pay to play. And the weird thing about this is that this is where apparently she met Ted Cruz. She met Ted Cruz at this Aspen retreat. She was a date of a Koch brother, or escorting, supposedly, allegedly, not a Koch brother, but a Koch family member. And that's where he met. And this is what I think went down, because apparently Cruz had a conversation with Boebert and was like, oh, well, you should run for Congress. And then she did it and she ran. And let me tell you, I'm sure this conversation went down exactly like this. Ted Cruz, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty confident Ted Cruz was probably being condescending to her and probably be like, yes, you have some great ideas. Well, maybe you should run for Congress too. And without probably even thinking that she would do it and win. And then she does it and wins. Either that, or according to one thing, maybe she just had some blackmailing information on him. Like, who he might have been with, or if he did anything. I don't know. Maybe to be fair to Ted Cruz, there's some reporting requirements of the contributions that he ended up giving to her campaign, and she didn't report a bunch of them. But what happened was he did. So when they were trying to figure out, okay, well, here's where it's going, here's where it's coming. Well, we don't have where it came from on Boebert's thing, but we have where it went from Ted Cruz's, so we need to fix that, and they investigated that. But Boebert lied about the information, about the money, the amount of money that she got from Cruz, I guess, and Cruz's interests about that. So, that was just very interesting in and of itself. But one of the things somebody tweeted out there earlier today on Twitter, let me see if I can find the tweet again in the mess of tweets that are my responses to V Radio, who has gotten to mock me, I guess, for my audience size. So, I mean, if you want to help, I'm like, look, I have a full-time job, I have a family, I have other hobbies that I enjoy doing, and I do this on top of that. So yeah, I don't spend as much time as you probably do making content for YouTube, or trying to get all the people to follow my show. I also, I think it's easier for people who spout stuff like he does to gain an audience, because when you just basically nod and agree and don't challenge the host on anything, and just yes, you're right, yes, you're right, and the conservatives love him because he claims to be a leftist, but he's supporting he's supporting lots of things that leftists don't support typically, like Rittenhouse. Anyway, so this at Mystery Solvent on Twitter posts a picture of Ted Cruz standing with Lauren Boebert in her red 45 hat, and Mystery Solvent says, "What is the title of the Lauren Boebert and Ted Cruz new adult film?" So on Twitter, I had to respond with this one and try to do my best movie trailer guy voice, like from my commercial. The name of the movie is Aspen to Mouth. Aspen to Mouth. From escorting clients in Aspen to escorting seditionists across the Capitol, one woman will put a whole new meaning to feeding at the trough. From the studio that gave you Texas Chill, Escape to Cancun, and A Face Full of Cawthorn. So that's my little ad for the new Boebert Ted Cruz pornography film, Aspen to Mouth. Anyway, that's terrible. But Bill B, was Boebert pay for play or pay for prey? Why not both? I mean, both involving getting on your knees, right? Again, not judging. If that's what she consents to do, more power to her. It should be legal. Nobody should be in jail for doing that sort of thing. It should be legal. I mean, it is legal in some ways. All you got to do is marry them, like Donald did, and there you go. And again, no, if that's the relationship that him and Melania have, again, I don't begrudge that. That should be legal for everybody. Should be able to do a long-term or short-term relationship. Whether it lasts 20 years or 5 minutes. I mean, if it lasts 5 minutes, that's not very impressive. But let's see, what did Kimchi say? Survey says drunk as a skunk. Kimchi, my boarder's daughter is an escort, dates only, no hanky-panky. And that's fine too. Then again, but apparently, according to this article, or to this website, to Muckraker Pack, she was an unregistered, an unlicensed escort, I guess in Colorado. I don't know if this is the case in everyone else. I haven't delved deeply into the world of escorting. But apparently in Colorado, you have to be licensed as an escort. You have to I guess, follow certain rules, and apparently if she was an escort, she didn't follow those rules. But yeah, there are people who do just escort people on dates without doing anything else. And then there are other people who escort people and do other things. But again, both should be legal. But it's hypocritical of Ms. Boebert to do those things and then advocate for the things that she advocates for. Let's see, what else we got? We do have words of redneck wisdom, too. Just This one's a little bit racist, so just to be forewarned, this one's a little bit racist.
And now, words of redneck wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio.
We're getting one step closer to tyranny, and nobody knows the truth anymore. That's just the way it is. You know, they're not going to tell it, and they're trying to railroad Donald Trump, and you know, he can't run in 2024. And so I don't know what we're going to do about things, but I'm going to tell you this. I was watching, and what's the guy's name on where Stittsfield is? Greg Kelly, is that his name? Well, I'm going to tell you this. I saw some very disturbing clips on his show, and this pregnant white woman was in a store, and I don't know where the rest of the employees were at, but this black bastard come up to her and started he beat the hell out of her, and then started kicking her while she was down on the ground. And this has been going on apparently for a while. And somewhere along the line, when you do this, you're gonna get white people stirred up. And back in the day, we had factions, but we don't have factions anymore.
And this concludes Words of Redneck Wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
Bill P. Ted Cruz is from Canada. Think that they may have been making Canadian bacon part 2. Very well. Well played. Yes, apparently to Leon or Cowboy out in South Carolina, the Palmetto State, if more black people do whatever that one black person does, there's going to be factions. And what does factions mean? But, you know, probably the Klan. And the Klan is still alive and well in Louisiana. They're very recently, I think they had a killing of some sort up there. There's plenty of people. And, you know, you had the people, white supremacists, marching in Charlottesville, marching on the Capitol as well. You know, plenty of things. But yeah, terribly racist, horribly just. And this is the guy who I usually am able to find some good stuff with, because he just fits the voice very well. I mean, it's almost to the level of a ficus on Hal's show. So there's that. Yeah. So words of redneck wisdom. So, but of course, you know, in my arguments with conservatives, they don't care about evidence.
We don't care about evidence.
They don't.
We don't care about evidence.
That's pretty much what it stands for. That's conservatism for you in a nutshell.
We don't care about evidence.
They don't care. I mean, he rattled about, you know, January 6th before he started into his little racist rant and how we're trying to stop Donald Trump from running for president again in 2024. Well, I mean, actually, if he is convicted of a felony, if Donald Trump were to be tried and convicted of felonies pertaining to his involvement in the insurrection on January 6th, he could still run for president. Because we'll get to that in a second. I'll take a jot of that down, because I'll take a jot of that as well. How president felons. We'll get to that. Anyway, is there something else I was going to talk about before I got to that topic? Oh, hey, Daily News, what's going on? Let's see. Florin Bobbitt is from the Western Slope, who described herself as a mom of 4, restaurant owner, and high school dropout. I mean, all of that is a truthful statement, I suppose. But let's see. Julie says, remember Mike Lindell yelling at that British reporter to ignore the evidence? Yes, there's that. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, says the mighty Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So, was that? Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. We talked about 6. We talked about gun laws. We talked about. I guess we can go ahead and start talking about the Liberal Dan Radio Multiverse. That's where we're at now. So we're just gonna start talking about that. So what do I mean? So if you're not familiar with, you know, fandoms of like DC or Marvel or other types of things that go into alternate realities or or multiple parallel universes. The idea of the multiverse is that for every action, every choice that people make, has two options, and there's a universe that exists out there where every possible action that was taken, the opposite action was taken. So therefore, there's many different realities that exist, and you just have to be in. We're in a multiverse. There's another multiverse. I used to think it was an absolute truthful statement that you could not be a felon and be president. I really honestly believed that somewhere in one of my high school history classes that I learned that a felon is prohibited from being president. That was one of the requirements, that you had to be 14 years living in this country. You had to be a natural-born citizen at this point in time, or 14 years in this country when the Constitution was drafted, and I thought the other thing was you couldn't be a felon, and then I was corrected, and I was like, "Are you sure?" And I went and read the Constitution. I went and looked it up, and I was convinced that was a truthful statement. So maybe there is some universe out there where the president of the United States can't be a felon. And maybe I came from that universe. I don't know. Probably not. But I joke around and saying maybe I am from that parallel universe, and that's why I'm thinking that is a truthful statement when it's really not. But there are many different things that we could talk about. A lot of times when I was having conversations with V Radio, with some other people, I would have, I'd basically say, what's it like on Earth 2? What's it like in the parallel universe that you live in where this thing is truthful, because it's not here? There is a multiverse example potentially where Donald Trump did get enough electoral college votes to win, but a large segment of the Biden supporters decided to storm the Capitol. And in that universe, a black version of Ashley Babbitt was storming through a window and was shot, and white conservatives made the argument, well, she shouldn't have been doing that, and why didn't she comply with police orders, and maybe if she didn't act in an act of insurrection, that she wouldn't be in the position she was today, or she wouldn't have ended up flat on her back. Let's see, John OTR, what? I'm missing a comment from John OTR somewhere. Maybe I don't know. Kimchi, hold on. Need more weed for this conversation. Nice. Hey, TV2 Live. Shouts out to TV2 Live. I was watching that channel after I did my live stream, I think the other day, and I had some good conversations on there. Go check out TV2's live channel as well and give him a sub as well. Big shout out to them. It was a fun conversation that took place in that chat room. So, Tucker John says that's not in the Constitution. I know it's not in the Constitution, but I swore it was. I could have sworn it was. Sparkle Durgan honestly used to think that everyone in Congress actually went to law school. I mean, yeah, there are things that we believe, and I think maybe if we really truly believe them, maybe there's a multiverse out there where that's true. But there are other things to discuss, and I want you to put in chat, like, put up a hypothetical situation. What would have happened had X happened instead of Y? Just throughout history, throughout American history, what have you. Like I've read, kind of like my history on multiple universes, like in Star Trek. Some of my favorite episodes of Star Trek are the Mirror Universe episodes where they have the Federation, but they're evil. There are books by Harry Turtledove, who's actually fairly liberal for the stuff that he writes. He has one alternate history series where aliens invaded in the middle of World War II, but their technology went on fighting on planets. Even though they can do interstellar travel, their fighting ability on a planet is not as advanced, or maybe like today's century stuff back in 1945. And they also expected to get a bunch of like people in huts, because their civilization advanced very slowly, so they didn't expect us to be able to progress as far as we did, and they had problems dealing with the invasion of the Earth at that time. There was another one where, what if the South won World War II, and what would that in the United States look like? Then there's another one where, what would happen if time-traveling people went back in time and gave the South repeating rifles? What would happen then? How would that have played out in the grand scheme of things? Lots of different ways to, just different, mental exercises you can play to be like, well, what would have happened if this little thing was different? And like in the Harry Turtledove books, he does try and make several things be very similar. Like he and it's to some point where I think he makes things too similar. He insists on like, well, if it happened in that one, it had to happen here. And to the point where I was asking one of my friends who put me onto those books, I was like, well, if that's the case, where's Rommel? I don't see Rommel. Rommel's nowhere in this book. And then all of a sudden I'm reading the book and I'm like, frickin' the guy's last name's Morell. That's Rommel. That's how close he was trying to do. Julie Swenson, yes, The Man in the High Castle, one of the best alternate history shows ever made. I loved The Man in the High Castle. That's one of my favorite shows. I love the show. It was a great show. Very well done. Very disturbing too sometimes, just to see certain things, especially as somebody who raised Jewish. So what would be true in maybe some of the multiverses? There's probably a Liberal Dan multiverse where I have at least 10,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and I have lots of Patreon supporters, and this is my full-time gig. That's one thing that could be possible. Maybe there's a multiverse, like a bizarro world in the multiverse, where there is conservative Dan Radio. Talk from the right? That's right. Can you imagine conservative Dan Radio? That would be quite amusing. There are people on Twitter who very recently called me Republican Dan because I guess I wasn't leftist enough for them. It was a stupid conversation. But there are other bigger things to discuss. Remember, Kermit is 35 years old. His father was a natural-born U.S. citizen. Put Animal as Secretary of Defense and nobody would screw with us. Animal! If JFK hadn't been assassinated, is a good one. We'll dwell on that in a second. I had a couple of ideas. What if Bernie won the election in 2016? Would he have gotten the House and Senate? Had Bernie won the House election or in 20? What if Bernie had won the election in 2020 and defeated Donald Trump instead of Biden being Donald Trump? Would you have Ossoff and Warnock being able to pull off victories in Georgia? Would Bernie have brought out enough people in Georgia like Biden did, or would Trump playing down the loss, would that have still been enough for anybody to have beat the Republicans, Loeffler and Perdue? And what would happen on that earth if Bernie Sanders tried to get Medicare for all passed? What would happen? And would it have passed? It might not have. I mean, maybe in a world that would elect a Bernie Sanders president, maybe he would be able to get a Congress to go along with him that would enact that legislation. But if Bernie Sanders got elected and everything else remained the same, like let's say you still had 50-50 in the Senate, let's say you still had a slim majority in the House, you might be able to have it pass the House. But then would it pass the Senate? I don't think Joe Manchin in a multiverse where Bernie Sanders is president would vote for Medicare for all. I don't think that's happening. So Bernie Sanders would have to make some hard choices. And then what would happen with his list, with his followers? Let's see, Daily News. You would have the most fans if you did speak from the right side. So I need to do like this. And if I speak like this, I'll have more listeners instead of facing face on. Speak from my right side. Sorry. My bad. If JFK hadn't been assassinated, the White House would have actually had that stripper pole. Funny. That's a good one. Other things. What if Henry Wallace, instead of Harry Truman, had remained FDR's vice president into the fourth term? What would have happened then? Henry Wallace was a very progressive person. I remember watching a show, I think it was Oliver Stone's show, talking about, the whole episode I think was dedicated to Henry Wallace and all the things he supported. And I was really impressed that somebody from the 40s would be that progressive. I think even more so than FDR. I mean, supportive of civil rights for black people, civil rights based on race, civil rights for women. I mean, back in the 40s, he was supporting these things. And the conservatives of the Democratic Party in the 40s and in 44 were like, you know what, we really don't like this guy. We really want to put Truman in there instead. And they did. But what if they didn't? What if you had, then all of a sudden FDR dies and you have a President Wallace at the end of the war instead of a President Truman? What would happen? Well, one might posit that there would have been no nuclear bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There would have been, because in reality, the reason that was done was not to end the war, because the war was going to end, because Russia was done with Germany, and that huge Russian army was about to go knocking on Japan's door, and would have said, "You going to surrender now?" And Japan would be like, "Yup." But the reason Truman dropped the bomb was because he wanted to show U.S. strength to Russia. I don't know. I mean, we might have still exploded a nuclear device. We might have still shown that we have the capability of do so, but I don't think Henry Wallace would have dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I don't even think he would have dropped it on one of them, let alone both. And I think the war would have still ended, but it would differently. And then we may have very well have had pushing on of the New Deal and even more progressive policies. We may have had health care for all in a nation if we would have come out of the war that way. I don't know. Can I know for certain? No, but that's the fun of dealing with the multiverse, is trying to consider alternate realities and how they might look like. Kimchi, dad jokes next level. Thank you. I take pride in that. Daily News, stand on your head would help all the smarts be going to your brain. So you're saying they're coming out of my ass now? Is that what you're saying? Daily News. See, you're saying that the Bob worked and saved many lives. I'm saying no, and there's evidence to show otherwise. There's evidence to show that there was no need to drop the bombs because Russia was marching on Japan's door and would have been there, and Japan would have had to surrender anyway. The war would have ended because Russia no longer needed to be bothered with Germany. Germany was done, so Russia could be like, Japan, you're next, and they would have been like, uh-oh, and they would have potentially surrendered. And maybe there's a universe where no bomb was dropped and more lives would have been lost. But the argument that has been made that I've seen is that no, that was not needed, and that most likely in such circumstances where you had that situation where Germany had already lost, Japan was losing, that you didn't need the bombs to ultimately get Japan to surrender. They would have surrendered anyway. Russia was spread out. Russia would have quickly consolidated, though. That's what I'm saying. What about the irony of, let's say there was a world that from all 7 continents, everybody just inherently thought to themselves, slavery is bad. And maybe there was a world where no slavery ever took place. What would have happened in such a world? There's the irony about that world, is that you have, the racists in this country who don't like the fact that black people are here, and because they're racist. And the irony would be, if you had no slave trade, then you wouldn't have had the shipment of lots of black people from Africa to be slaves in America. And as such, you might have a much whiter population. The irony of racism is that they created what they hate. They created what they hate. Daily News, how is Russia going to get to Japan? They had no navy. Land bridge, just walking over each other's humans. The argument was they had the ability to get there. They had the ability to make that threat, and they would have been able to. All of those people lined up across that little narrow, whatever bit of water was there, would have made them be like, you know what? Nope, we're going to give up. That's too many people. If they start sending them over, we're going to surrender. And it very well could have been that we helped ferry them over, because again, we were allied with Russia. War makes strange bedfellows, and Stalin was a terrible person. It's one of the things that I was, in my reaction, I think, to V Radio was how can you support Liz Cheney? He's like, how can you be supportive of Liz Cheney? She was a terrible person. But yes, she's a terrible person, but Trump's worse. And if she's willing to work with us to stop Trump, then yay, good, let's work together on that. It doesn't mean I forget everything else that she did. But so Stalin, terrible person, but also Stalin is willing to help us defeat the Axis, so good, we'll work with each other then and then deal with it at that point. So we very well could have sent our Navy to help ship some of the Russian troops over as a joint front to tackle Japan and take them out, especially because all of our fleet no longer had to be dealing with the German threat, so we could all swing around and get there too. So let's see, Kinky Streets, we have tech and it's done, nothing for peace. We did not want to owe too much to Russia, plus we wanted to show off our... Yeah, at the time, because Truman was president. I'm saying if Henry Wallace was president, that might not have been the case. We might have been able to strike a deal temporarily with Russia and be like, hey, this is how we're going to get the war done. Let's get it done. Let's see, if somebody wants to call in, let's say 914-803-41. Let's do a reset, I guess I say. Calling in, 914-803-4131, 914-803-4131. Again, also support the show, like the video, like all my videos that you like. Watch more, share them all, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed to the channel, and also, support the show by going to the Liberal Dan Radio patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com, or go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider link, and you can do a one-time donation that way, or you can also donate to the Liberal Dan Radio on Venmo. So yeah, if you want to debate the topics. But so there's another thing that I did want to talk about the alternate history and what might have been. What if Al Gore won Florida? What if they didn't purge the voters on a wide? What if the Katherine Harris, Secretary of State of Florida in 2000, did not cast a wide net that kicked many black people off the voter rolls? And who didn't know? Because there's no reporting requirements to say, oh, here's some registered mail saying that we kicked you off the voter rolls. You can go and re-register if you want, if you're legitimate. So the amount of people that were kicked off the voter rolls in Florida, if you consider what percentage of black voters vote for Democrats versus what percentage of black people vote for Republicans, that was more than enough votes for Al Gore to have won. So what happened? Or what happened if they would have done a full manual recount and Al Gore would have won? What if the Supreme Court hadn't stepped in and stopped it and handed George W. Bush the presidency without making sure that the Florida vote counts were okay? Talk about stolen elections. And we can talk all about that if anyone wants to talk about that. I did a lot of research on that back in 2000. It was one of my first real forays into both getting really into politics and getting really into debating politics. And I was getting into the meat of the laws and reading what the law says and trying to just, everybody was making all these bad arguments as to why Gore was only picking certain counties or whatever. It was ridiculous because that's all he could do. But what if Gore had won in 2000? Well, if you read the 9/11 Commission report, which is something I did before I ran for Congress, picture it if you will. This 25 years old at the time? 29 years old at the time, I guess. I was 29 years old. I'm traveling back home. I'm flying back to Baltimore to go visit my family over the summer for some reason. I think it was my stepsister's wedding. Here I am in the airport and on a plane reading the 9/11 Commission report. And I had my bags with me, but I had the 9/11 Commission report, a bunch of sticky notes, and a highlighter where I can or a pen where I can make notes on the sticky notes. And somewhere, my 9/11, I still have the copy, and my sticky notes are still on there. So every time I got to a good point, because I was determining whether or not I wanted to run for Congress, and I was like, if I'm going to run for Congress this year, the most important thing for me to do at this point is to read the 9/11 Commission report, understand it front to back, and know what happened on 9/11 and where the failures were, so that if that comes up in my election that I can address every single point and do so intelligently. So, but still, here I am, 29-year-old kid, a 29-year-old adult, a young adult, not yet 30, and I'm sitting there reading a book about how terrorists flew airplanes into buildings whilst about to get on an airplane. Like, it's crazy. It's imagine, I can't imagine the people who would have looking at me weird at doing that. But I had to do it because I was running for Congress, and
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So, according to the 9/11 Commission report, the Clinton administration and the intelligence operation under the Clinton administration in December of 2000 had determined that Osama bin Laden was responsible for the bombing of the USS Cole. So that's big. That they knew that not only Saddam Hussein was a problem or a threat, but they also knew that Saddam Hussein was responsible for attacking us at the time. And there was a decision to be made in December of 2000. Do we start military actions to start going after Osama bin Laden? I don't know if I said Saddam Hussein, but I meant Osama bin Laden. If I said Saddam Hussein, I don't know if I misspoke that. Hey, Mountain Lady, how's it going? Thank you for joining. So we knew it. We knew that he was responsible for the attacks on the Cole, and there would have been nothing wrong if Bill Clinton had decided to take action at that point. However, the thing is that they didn't want to hand Bush a war or a military action at the very least. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to basically give Bush the information and say, here's what we found out, and therefore you can act on it as you wish. They handed it to the Bush administration. The Bush administration did nothing. The Bush administration then got the presidential daily briefing that announced that bin Laden wanted to attack the United States, and they ignored it and did nothing. So what happened? 9 months later, we had 9/11. So, what if Gore had won? If Gore had won, there wouldn't have been a problem with starting the military action in December of 2020. Clinton could very well have just said, okay, we're going to start the military action. We're going to go after bin Laden, and Al Gore will just take over the reins as vice president, going from vice president to president. Imagine if we had taken out Osama bin Laden in January or February of 2021, of 2001. I mean, 2021. In 2001. Imagine if there would have been no presidential daily briefing saying bin Laden was going to attack, because he might have already been dead at the time. We might have already dealt a major blow to his network. He might have been dead. He might have been arrested, if not dead. And there would have been no 9/11. So you wouldn't have had the towers. The towers might still be erected today. I mean, there's nothing. Who's to say that somebody else wouldn't have tried to attack the towers again? Because that wasn't the first time they tried to attack the towers. Let's see, King Streets. Look up Saudi Visa Express program installed by George W. Bush administration. Not good. 100% Bush fault. Yeah, but if Bush wasn't president, they wouldn't have done that, most likely. So, and then what happens? So you don't have 9/11 happening. So that's a good thing in and of itself, potentially. Aaron West, I got the 9/11 Commission report on audiobook and listened to it on my work commute. Not good traffic listening. I can't imagine. Although I still think it's probably better to listen to the book in a car instead of reading the book on a plane. Reading a book on a plane while reading the descriptions of planes smashing into other buildings. That's just craziness. Well, so imagination is funny. It is funny. let's see. Also, we did get Osama bin Laden. Yes, we did. And his family had, well, he was kind of rejected, though, against his family. I think his family had money, but he was going off and doing things. Aaron West, I win. Haha. So, but there's more stuff. They expand the universe as to how it might look without 9/11. Rudy Giuliani doesn't become America's mayor. Rudy Giuliani doesn't become America's mayor, so therefore he doesn't become as popular nationwide as he once was. So he doesn't become this person who is I guess nationwide popular at some point, who then is able to leverage that into becoming one of Trump's big guys. Maybe Trump never becomes president at that point. Who knows how it would go. If you had 4 years, maybe you have 8 years of Gore. Without a war, without going to Iraq. We don't go to Iraq if we don't have the 16 words that says that Iraq was poised to make weapons of mass destruction. If we don't have that during a Bush administration, because there's no Bush administration, then we don't attack Iraq either. We don't attack Saudi Arabia. We don't go into anywhere. So lots of lives get saved simply because additional people were allowed to vote, or additional people showed up to vote. In conservative world, they live in alternate reality where Trump won. I mean, in their alternate reality, he won in this world. Maybe in a conservative alternate universe, there's a world where Trump really did win, but fortunately, we don't live in that world. So, and then what else? What else happens? You have Gore as president in 2004, 2008. Does Obama become president then in 2008? I don't know. Are you going to have 4 terms of Democratic presidents in a row, or 5, 6? Because you had 2 terms of Clinton, 2 terms of Gore, and then what? Do you have another 2 terms of Obama? You don't know. There's no way to know. It would really depend on how the rest of the world would shape up. One of the, Al Gore's or Obama's big speech at the 2004 convention was probably in part because of the fact that we were the opposition party. I don't know. Does Obama get that slot if he's not the fiery speaker that he was back in 2004, trying to argue against George W. Bush? I don't know. It's just interesting things to think about. Maybe he does become president. Maybe Obama becomes president, and then maybe you see more and more prosperity because the Republican Party dwindles away into nothingness. To tell the Republicans votes don't count. I mean, votes don't. It's not that votes don't count. It's who counts the votes and who draws the districts. That's part of my stopthecoup.liberaldan.com. Stopthecoup.liberaldan.com. That talks about how if you draw districts and take away voting power from people, especially voting power from minorities, you end up leaving the conservatives with an undue weight in this country. Let's see. Kiki Streets, GOP set USA back 50 years. Yes. Kimchi, I need a spreadsheet and lots of string. We could do the meme where you have all the strings like, well, if this didn't happen, then this didn't happen. Besides this, let's see, someone brought up JFK not being assassinated. Besides the stripper pole in the White House, as Demonox says. Again, shouts out to Demonox, first Liberal Dan Radio patron. Thank you muchly for doing so. Shouts out to Gypsy, Julie Swenson. Well, Gypsy, Aaron, Angie, Chris, Cesar, and Demonox for all being patrons. And also extra shout out to Julie Swenson for being the first Liberal Dan Radio producer. Thank you very much for that. And also shouts out to... See, this is the benefit from... This is the benefit from supporting the show early, is that if I don't have a lot of... When I don't get a lot of contributors yet, I get to repeat your name a bunch. Wes, Aaron, and Gypsy also for contributing. Thank you for contributing to for buying me ciders. Appreciate that as well. Again, click the Buy Me a Cider link at liberaldan.com or go to patreon.liberaldan.com to support the Patreon as well. Or if you have Venmo, you can just scan the Venmo link on your screen, and you'll be able to contribute that way. One thing I have noticed this entire stream is that a lot of the times during the streams, I end up getting like these error messages from YouTube, or I had been getting these, your stream rate is not fast enough. You're not streaming at enough bit rates. We're not getting enough information for a stream. I would get error messages like that all the time. This is the first episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from Left to North. That's right. That's using AT&T Fiber instead of Cox Communications. My upload speed is like 400 megabits per second at the moment from this laptop, instead of being like 30. So my upload speed is amazeballs, and I don't think I've had any streaming issues this entire time. You can let me know if you've witnessed any streaming issues or any buffering or anything that's gone on, but if maybe the buffering could be from your side instead of mine. But I haven't gotten any messages from YouTube, so I'm very, very happy with the fact that I have fiber. Now, I'm fighting AT&T now because AT&T said installation would be free, and now they're only giving me 50% off installation, and I was supposed to get $300 in gift cards, and they don't know what the deal is with that, so I have my problems with them still, but, you know. It is better than Cox Communications, 100%, 1,000,000%.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Let's see. Jolie, I watched an NDE video, and the guy said there's not a multiverse, but there is life on many different planets. I was doubting until he said Earth was the worst one. Now I'm a true believer. There is, yes. The reason that there's intelligent life on other planets, and we wouldn't know because that intelligent life is too intelligent. They looked at us and they'd be like, we don't want to go there. Ew. So, Julie Swenson, Trump is literally the president in the end of A Sound of Thunder by Bradbury. Hey, Mountain Lady, thank you for joining us, Mountain Lady. Daily News, 5G would have been discovered much earlier if Al was in office. Well, the internet would have been much stronger if Al Gore was in office, because Al Gore was responsible for creating the internet, right? I mean, everything in the internet, all the code in the internet is based on an algorithm. So, let's see. Aaron West, Liberal Dan, do you not drink coffee? Well, first of all, I have a local cider joint that I go to that I like to peruse, so I would rather support the cider joint than buy any coffee. But I've really tried many different types of coffee, especially in times when I would be working and like I was really tired and I really wanted to drink some coffee. I just can't. I can't. I don't like it at all. I've flavored it. I've tried like Starbucks, almost milkshake type coffee drinks. I've tried almost any form of coffee the only way that I like coffee is if I'm drinking a drink that has Kahlua in it. That's the only way that I like anything coffee. Now, I like the smell of coffee. I'll go into a coffee shop and be like, it smells good, but I just don't like the taste. And not enough cream, not enough sugar could get me liking it. And so a lot of the times, instead of drinking coffee, to keep myself from falling asleep at work or whatever, or from being overly tired, or keeping myself up as I drove places, my way of getting caffeine would be via Coca-Cola. Hence, again, the belly. Let's see, Daily News. What hoax are you it doesn't matter if it's a hoax, however labeled. What's the hoax? Was 5G the hoax? Is that what you're trying to say? Oh, climate change. Climate change is not... Here's the interesting thing about climate change. And I've noticed this. I don't know if I brought this up yet on the show before. But the interesting thing about the climate change deniers is that, take the Venn diagram, where you have one circle that contains all of the people who believe climate change is a hoax. And take the other circle that believes that the government is using airplanes to spread chemtrails to alter weather patterns. I think there's a large intersection there. The intersection might just be the combination of the two circles into one circle. But I can understand the logic behind the brains that say, well, I don't believe climate change. I don't think man-made climate change is real. I don't think that we can affect the planet in that way. but the chemtrails are affecting weather patterns. How does that work? It doesn't it doesn't work at all. West Webb, at least Al Gore understood technology. Yeah, he did. And he did help pass legislation that helped bolster the ARPANET, which was the government precursor and the government and university, I guess, precursor of what became the modern internet of today. So, but yeah, I like making my joke. And I've heard other people make that joke too, but I made it up a long time ago. I made it up on the first time somebody made an Al Gore joke being that Al Gore was responsible for the internet. Well, like, yeah, because all code is based on an algorithm. Let's see. We're the Florida of the universe. Nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. Pretty much. I almost had an opportunity to live in Florida. I applied for a job out there. I went to go for an interview, and thank goodness they lowballed me. And I was like, nope. Can't go. Can't take that financial risk. Aaron is addicted to Dr. Pepper. I don't like Dr. Pepper. I don't know. I just don't like the taste. Wes, I always keep Dr. Pepper 2 and Orange Crush. Let's see, we'd be much further along as a nation. I agree. If we had a Democrat as president. There's no God, but Java and Kona is her prophet. Do you mean profit with a PH, or do you mean it brings God money with Java and Kona by making a profit? That's why Donald Trump is a prophet, but with an FIT. But he's not very FIT, I guess. West Web, I can't breathe in Florida, sensitive to sulfur. Yeah, I can't stand that's the only problem with Florida water, is when I go to Florida and visit Disney World and I have to deal with the water with all the sulfur in the water. Demonox, climate change is real. Why? Because one species can't change the planet like that. Do you like white sand beaches? Yeah, look up the parrotfish. There you go. Don't use facts, logic, and reason, Demonox. Kona is expensive, but I still worship her. So, any other ideas in the chat about possible other things to explore about the Liberal Dan Radio Multiverse and what might have happened, what might have been? I think I've covered most of the ones that I wanted to cover. There was me having 10,000 subscribers on all platforms and being monetized everywhere. There's, again, Bizarro World, where there's Conservative Dan Radio, talk from the right, that's right. There's an alternate universe where Demonox makes regular podcasts. How about that? Demonox and Nimbus Yosh with the smooth sounds of the Percy podcast. There is that alternate universe too. Let's make that this Demonox Yosh. I was trying to get them to form Voltron this week. Maybe we can form Voltron next week. Maybe we need to see who all is if all y'all three are available to do it, and we can do it next week. Aaron's thirsty for Percy. Just the smooth sounds of the Percy podcast. Trying to set up your basement studio. Have you bought the microphone yet, or do you have a microphone or the camera, or do you need my link again? Because if another way you can help the show is if you email me, I guess, and you'd be like, I want to use your code for Amazon or whatever. You can search for something and you can use my code for any particular things. I can give you the affiliate code, and I get money that way too. Affiliate advertising, it sometimes works when you have enough people doing it. Let's see. No, cover the same thing. Shamed by appearance. I'm old, gray, and balding. Cover what? I guess I'm missing part of that conversation. I don't want to think of an alt universe where I'm a conservative evangelical Christian MAGA. Can you imagine? Just me walking around with the red hat. Make America great again. I don't have the mic. I need a camera, but I don't have quiet in the room. I need a door. It's converted from a living room. Oh, that's fair. I'll send you a link to the camera that I use. If you like the camera that I use, I can send you a link to that. It's relatively cheap. What else? I have a bunch of notifications. Oh, Jesus. V-Radio's still on, trying to prove me wrong when he doesn't. He's just, Nate's going to say, why haven't you responded to me yet? It's because I've been doing a podcast for the last hour and 20 minutes, you adult. What did Daily News say? Weather modification programs, problems, policy, and potential by United States. Yeah, I don't understand what that means, Daily News. And Wes, I do appreciate you behaving tonight. Thank you. But yeah, do we have any other interesting options of what maybe alternate universe versions? There's an alternate universe where Daily News is a liberal. How about that one? That's a good one. I like that one. That's Daily News is a liberal. I don't think there's any alternate universe where Donald Trump isn't an asshole. I think that would be clearly one. Is there an alternate universe where Republicans are not hypocrites on things? Where I can't do Hypocrite of the Week because everyone remains consistent in their views. Ooh, that would take away one of my bits. All of your harem? Do you mean harem? Not harem is holding you down? You wish they were all holding you down. Daily News, if you shared a link, okay. If you shared a link, you can't share a link, so you're trying to type a link without being able to have that link blocked. Is that what you're trying to do, Daily News? I don't know. Anyway, again, support the show, like the show. There are 19 viewers and 26 likes. I don't know if all of y'all have liked. If you haven't liked, do so. If you haven't subscribed, do so. And please make sure to go to the Liberal Dan Radio Patreon, patreon.com/LiberalDan, or buy me a coffee, buy me a cider. Link is at liberaldan.com, the Buy Me a Cider button as well. Let's go ahead and take the final commercial break. So even though there is no Percy podcast recently, you can still hear a commercial with the smooth sounds of the Percy podcast. And we'll unless something else comes up, we'll probably try and wrap up the show a little bit earlier than normal. But we'll see. Something could come up, and then we could have a good discussion and debate for another hour and a half. We'll see. But here's the commercial again. Phone number is 914-803-4131, 914-803-4131. This is Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.
Greetings. This is Nimbus Yosh, host of the Percy Podcast. What is the Percy Podcast? Well, it's pretty much the smoothest talking host you'll ever hear in your life, talking about all kinds of things. Political things, nerdy things, fun things, not so fun things. Go ahead, give a listen, and follow at the Percy Podcast for more updates and information. Why not sit back and take a listen to one of the best podcasts you'll ever hear, and no one else will. Catch you on the tunes.
Do you want to set money aside for a rainy day? Do you want to open an account that will give you a savings bonus each month? What if I told you that you can get both and have a chance to win $10 million? YADA is an FDIC-insured bank, and when you go to yada.liberaldan.com, open an account, and make your first deposit, you will get 100 entries into the next weekly drawing. You will also get entries each week you have a balance. So go to yada.liberaldan.com. That's YOTTA.liberaldan.com. Using gerrymandering, voter suppression, and other nefarious tactics, the Republican Party has manipulated our electoral system to maintain as much control as possible despite being a party in the minority. Liberal Dan Radio seeks to change that, and I need your help in doing so. Liberal Dan Radio has partnered with Levelfield to help us use tools that are typically only available to big money donors. When you go to stopthecoup.liberaldan.com and make your contribution, it will encourage other voters to reach out to their legislators to pass legislation to stop gerrymandering and voter suppression, and target elected officials who refuse to protect the vote. Every eligible voter should be able to cast a ballot, and that ballot should have the same power as everyone else. I can't do this alone. I need your help. So please go to stopthecoup.liberaldan.com and make your contribution today. That's stopthecoup.liberaldan.com. stopthecoup.liberaldan.com. Political advertising paid for by Levelfield. Contributions are not tax deductible as charitable contributions.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. I almost gave my own phone number again, 914-803-4131. Wes Webb is saying that the people are enchanting him. They cower me and they enchant the witches in the chat. Maybe that should be another level of support of Liberal Dan Radio. A Liberal Dan Radio enchantress. So, we'll see. Probably not, but it would still be funny. So, what else we got? We got a conversation of Mexican Coke. Love Mexican Coke. I used to really dig when back in the day when they first came out with throwback Pepsis. And the throwback Pepsis used to be in a throwback case of the 12, and they would have little bits of it, and they would run out. So I'd go buy 6 cases of the damn thing, and then savor them and slowly drink them, because the throwback Pepsi was also made with real sugar and not with high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup stinks. Which should be interesting because there's the conversation from last week with the whole corn thing and the words of Redneck wisdom that I played were talking about how you're wasting perfectly good corn alcohol by putting it in a gas tank so you can't drink it, and then so then the price of anything with high fructose corn syrup will go up, because if you start burning more ethanol, that's more demand for domestically produced corn. Then again, we probably produce much more corn that's needed. We probably throw away a lot of corn too, so there's that as well. All right, Wes Webb, enough. you don't have to be that weird about how they haunt you and how much you like them. That's enough. Anyway, so let's go back to the Boebert thing, because I wonder if there's any news coming from this website. Let's see. You have the press release on fireboebert.com/BoebertAbortions. You can we make no judgment about Boebert's abortions. That's her right as a woman to do in Colorado. We are importing the unbelievable hypocrisy. Again, that's why I made her Hypocrite of the Week, because of the hypocrisy. The website that she was going from was sugardaddymeat.com, supposedly. And messages confirming Boebert was a paid escort and met Coke family member on sugardaddymeat.com. Our source requested we not reveal their name, location, or any other information. Screenshots are from the actual text messages in sequential order from our source to fireboebert.com. I'm sorry, I would really love to help. Scared of her and her husband. I don't know how you could, whatever, blank safety. I will tell you that she had an abortion at the Glenwood Springs at the Planned Parenthood office, and another one in Grand Junction. The first one was at 17. The second one while she was working on the side as a paid site on as a site called Sugar Baby. She was stripping at the time also. They had a meth drug problem. Can you access any medical records for Planned Parenthood? I'm trying to get past the fear, but I don't know how you could protect blank. No problem. You should call the sheriff. Your complaint is on the record about those. Do you know where she's stripping? About illegal drugs? Do you know about Sugar Baby website name? Shares the links. It's all of it is on fireboebert.com/BoebertAbortions. It's all, crazy. There's even some comments that they made Why would Ted Cruz put money into a paid escort that didn't even have a high school diploma? Somebody goes, it's obvious she blackmailed him. OMG, never thought about that. Yep, you know her. She's a conniving little witch. True, good night, thank you. So then they give the rules on Colorado statutes on being a paid escort and then give information. I did reach out and email them to see if I could get them to come on the show tonight, that group from the firebomber.com. They did not respond back yet, so hopefully they'll respond back and maybe we can have them on next week. And look at that, E-Dub, thank you for buying me a cider, E-Dub. I see that's the thing with having it over here, is that it's not centered. I need to figure that out. I need to figure out how to do it well, how to put everything correctly and make it so that everything looks, I don't know. Haven't quite gotten it all figured out with the positioning yet. I was trying to fit both of them on the screen, but it's just not working. Do it like that, and then let's move this around here, and then put that here, maybe bring that down here a little bit, center that a little bit. I don't know. Haven't quite figured it out yet. But again, thank you, E-Dub, Aaron, for the other cider that was purchased. Y'all are awesome, and I love you for it. Anybody else want to make it ding? Hey, there you go, another ding. That's awesome. That's like my happy noise. Bringing It Boy Daily News bought you a cider. Shouts out to Bringing It Boy Daily News. You are awesome too. That makes, I think, 2 conservatives and two liberals who support the show. So awesome. Thank y'all both I appreciate that. Again, it does make me feel really, I mean, other than, it just makes me feel good that y'all support the show. It's good feelings that I have for it. And look, I'm not mad at you if you can't, if you can't afford it. I understand that. There are many things that I'd love to support with my money as well. There are many things I love to support as well, and I can't do all of them. I try and do some, like, try to help some friends. I've tried to help some friends in need over the pandemic as well, and I don't really talk about it much because I don't want like fanfare for it. But just I don't like to see people suffering. I don't like to see people be at threat. So it's nice to be able to help people out, and it's nice, when people help you out as well. So y'all are awesome. I appreciate y'all greatly for that. Let's see. Julie Swenson, that guy that picks up her soda bottles, loves us every week because the people in my family drink too much of it. I'm the only one who doesn't drink soda here. Kimchi, Mexican Coke, 50-cent packs of Marlboro Lights, amazing hummus, summer of 90 in Merida, Yucatan. Thanks for the memory. Nice. Sounds really awesome. I definitely I am going to go on a vacation. I won't miss a show. I won't miss an episode of Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. Because the cruise that I'm going on is from Thursday to Monday. So I'll probably have to, after the podcast, I'll probably pack before the podcast starts, but I'll have to put everything together, that I haven't put together after the podcast, so we can go on our cruise on the Thursday. But it's an anniversary cruise. We're taking the kids with us too, but we got married on 7/7/7, so we're like, that has to be the date we get married on. We made it a lucky day, so to speak. And my joke is that I used all my luck to get married on 7/7/7. I don't have any more luck left, but 7th. So this is 2022. So 15 years of my wife putting up with my BS. So. Thank you, Kimchi. I'm glad you like it. I really, I would love to get this to catch on. I would love to be able, ultimately the end goal would be doing so well with this that I could do this full time, and then I could put more effort into doing videos, making more content, putting more stuff up there, instead of the limited stuff that I can only put up now because it's, I have limited time to do so because I have a full-time job to support my family support. So. Aaron, that was the exact day I was supposed to get married. Funny story, because we did take a cruise for our honeymoon as well, and I've talked about that because it was when I woke up on the cruise hearing that David Vitter had hooked up with prostitutes and his serious sins with hookers, and I thought I was dreaming, and then I woke up and I finally heard the story, and I'm like, no, he gave me an anniversary gift. But we were playing, we were sitting in the middle of this game, and they were playing, it was a not-so-newlywed game on Carnival Cruise Lines. So what they do is, they take a couple that's been married for 20 years or more. Like they try and get the couple in the audience who's been married the longest, hopefully more than 20 years, but the longest married couple. Then they try and get a couple who's been married for about 10 years. And then they try and get the most recently married couple. And so I think it was on July 10th, I believe, that it was a 7-day cruise, and July 10th was the day that we that they were playing this game. And he was like, "Did anybody get married on July 10th and here today on the cruise?" And crickets, nobody answered. "Anybody get married on July 9th? Nobody answered. "Did anybody here get married on July 8th? Nobody answered. "Did anybody here get married on July 7th? Half the room is like, "Yo!" and half the room raises their hands. And the cruise director, Big Tex, who was running the show, just had a look of utter defeat. He was like, "There's no way we're gonna." So they basically had people go put their names in a box, and then they picked the couple out of the box that would be the ones who would be competing as the newlyweds on the not so newlywed game. And I'm just like, I felt so, because as soon as he started asking, I'm like, it's going to be a room full of July 7th, because when else would you get married? Why would you get married on any other day besides July 7th if you're going to get married in July of 2007? Why wouldn't you want your anniversary date to be 777? So, yeah, poor guy. Took about 15 minutes to get everything organized and to get a couple picked, which probably took away from all the stuff they could do on the game. The great thing was on that cruise is we played bingo one day, and it was blackout bingo, and we got bingo on blackout bingo and won a free cruise. So that was awesome. So for my birthday, we took a cruise as well. We've also taken a birthday cruise for my wife's birthday, and that was in 2019, and then of course the pandemic hit. So we're finally going to be able to, and hopefully we all can stay COVID free. We're basically going to be quarantining as much as possible for the 2 weeks before we have to take our test. And basically, I think like this Friday, I'll go to Costco and I'll buy enough groceries at Costco to last me for 2 weeks, so we don't have to go anywhere. 7/7/2007 imaginary what? So yeah, we're going to be trying to limit our access to the outside world for as little as possible during those 2 weeks to make sure that none of us test positive for COVID. Because if any of us test positive for COVID, it's going to suck. Never been on cruise it's good, and there's some really, really good, like, I understand if you have issues with COVID and you don't want to risk it. I get it. I totally get it. But there are some really good deals on cruises right now, and that's why we jumped on this one. For the 4 of us, me, my wife, and 2 kids. It's an inside stateroom, so I'm worried about the size of the stateroom, but it's a inside stateroom. Hey, Phil Stone, the only cruise I've ever been on is left from New Orleans. Hey, that's where we're leaving from because we live here. So for me, my wife, and my 2 kids to go on just a 4-day cruise. I think we'll leave the 7th, 8th, 9th, and come back on the 10th and then the 11th, I think it is. The 7th, the 8th at sea, 9th is Cancun, I think, 10th at sea. We're coming back on the Monday, whatever that ends up being. I think it's a 4-night cruise. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we leave on sometime during the day on Thursday on the 7th, and we come back on the Monday in the morning. So, for that short cruise, the 4 of us, $900. $900 for the 4 of us to go on a 4-day cruise, all you can eat. We did add the all you can drink package for me and my wife for those days, so that added a little bit. That probably added about $100 a day for us. So $50 per person. But the drinks are so expensive on the cruise. If you have more than 4 drinks, it pays for itself. So yeah, then we're going on a cruise in January. That cruise is we're actually going to be in a bigger room with more room. and that's like $3,200. But again, it's a bigger room with a balcony, and again, the kids sell free. And that one has the drinks included for all 7 days. So if it costs, like, if all you can drink is $700, subtract that $2,500 for a 7-day cruise for 4 people, 7, 8, 6, 600 a person maybe. So still not terrible. Let's see. Yeah, New Orleans. It's a great place to cruise out of. New Orleans is, because you get to do the New Orleans-y things. Like, I mean, there are other cities that I guess might have some fun. Like, I guess if you cruise out of Miami, there's some neat things to see in Miami. But yeah, being able to come to New Orleans and do New Orleans-y things and then go on a cruise. Yeah, that's it. I'm glad I'm not Uber driving still. Like, I used to do Uber and Lyft, but I'm glad I'm not doing that, because while we're away on the cruise, there's a swingers convention that comes to town every year. And they even came to town during the pandemic, and they caught 40 to 50 cases of spread from the swingers convention alone. And I was like, look, again, I don't kink shame. If that's what y'all want to do, that's cool. I'm all for enthusiastic consent as long as everyone consents. Have as much fun as you want. But guess what? Don't swing in the middle of a damn pandemic. It doesn't make any sense. Does it? Kimchi, balconies that must cough, one hit cough. Yeah, I can imagine that. So, yeah, don't swing during the middle of a pandemic when you have mask mandates and socially distant. How can you socially distance when you're swinging? It's just not possible. Aaron West looks for flights on New Orleans on July 7th. Come on, join the cruise. How many hours is New Orleans to Miami? Driving wise, I don't know. We did cruise, I think it was Royal Caribbean. We cruised out of New Orleans and went to Key West, Miami, and the Bahamas for the 2019 cruise, and that was a good time. But you hear in the first commercial break, I play my Budgeteers commercial, from my Budgeteers website that I don't do much with these days, because I went once since we were able to do things a little bit, this year. And I had some criticisms of the new system in place with their whole new fast pass ticketing system that they implemented. And I still haven't done the third video on that one either. But this last trip, Disney World was so freaking expensive, and the ways we would normally save money, we couldn't. It was just so pricey and so expensive that we're almost considering the fact that cruising is the way to go. And we are going to Florida in October as well. So way off in October, there probably won't be an episode of Liberal Dan Radio unless I bring enough stuff with me to do an episode, but it probably won't. But we're going to New Smyrna Beach out on the coast, on the Atlantic coast, instead of going to Disney World. We might go to Disney World for one day to go to a water park and go to their Halloween party, but otherwise we're just not going, because we're not going to spend all that money on Disney. We'd rather relax and be able to afford things like the cruises that are much more cheaper. Oh, Aaron, you want to come for the swinger convention? Nice. Well, I mean, hey, I don't judge. You want to have fun, do it safely, as long as everyone consents. Again, do not put an edible upside down pineapple on your door unless you're looking to swing. My swimsuits that I bought for the cruise do have pineapples and bananas on them. So does that mean that I'm going to have a lot of people hitting on me in the cruise, thinking that I'm taking those pineapples in the wrong way? Is that going to be it? So we'll have lots of attention. Although I can't imagine there would be a lot of swingers on the New Orleans cruise, because they're probably just going to be in New Orleans and not be on the cruise coming out of New Orleans. So, but I guess we'll see. We'll see. I thought the pineapple ones were cute, so we'll see if I get any attention for the pineapples. If anybody's like, "Do you know what pineapples mean? Are you into that thing too?" do like an undercover report. Liberal Dan undercover, literally. Haha. I have wanted to do for a long time. I'm friends on Facebook with somebody who is like a sex therapist and who does a lot of informational shows about like sexual health, sex positivity, etc. And I did have an idea that I wanted to do maybe one night, have like a late night podcast, and where we discuss more adult themed topics. We discussed, sex positivity, all sorts of topics about sex and stuff like that, and just call the episode, or call any episode in that series that I do, Sex with Liberal Dan. So we'll see if that becomes a thing. We'll see. I think it would be a fun thing to do. I don't want to scare too many people off of the show. I don't want to put too much adult content out there and scare people away. But I also don't want to. I also think it would be a good informational type stuff, especially with talking with somebody who is educated and professional in the area of sex education, sexual health, and basically sex positivity is where as well. Let's see. Relocation cruise went from Boston to Bermuda to Azores Island to Lisbon. There is a relocation cruise that we heard of that is bringing a boat from, I don't know where it's starting from, but it is coming to New Orleans, and we very much want to see if we can get on that one. I think it's coming from San Diego. I think it goes from San Diego through the canal and then comes back to New Orleans, which means we'd only have to fly out to California and then take the relocation cruise back, and then we'd just be home. So I'm very, very tempted to try and look into that. That should be interesting. Aaron West, late nights with Liberal Dan. That's not as fun as Sex with Liberal Dan. I think I like Sex with Liberal Dan better than late nights. Let's see. Something else. I missed something. That was the cruise across the Atlantic. That's awesome. I missed something. Balcony. Already saw that. Balcony is must. Virgin cruises, swinger parties. Kimchi says, is that from experience or is that literally like do more? I know I've seen Virgin Voyage, or is it Virgin Voyages? But I've seen Virgin Cruise Line where they only allow adults on. There's no kids allowed on their cruise ships. So is Virgin Voyages like an offshoot of the Virgin Cruise Line where it's devoted to swinging, or is it just, do there happen to be a lot of swingers on those cruises because there's no kids? And what's the irony there of calling your cruise line Virgin and then having swingers cruises on them? But it would be like sex, with Liberal Dan. Like, that would be the kind of the play on words, not sex with Liberal Dan, but sex, with Liberal Dan. So, Virgin as adults, already a lot of parties. I can imagine that, especially if it's adults only. You don't have to see about kids. You don't have to. Aaron West, that's a lot of questions. Oh, that could be a lot of answers too. I guess if you're on a boat and you're not worried about kids seeing you, you could probably get away with wearing more of what you want to wear. I mean, they still might say, hey, cover certain things up in certain public areas, but I think I've been on cruise ships where they have had an adults only area where people were free to sunbathe or like I think at least topless, if not completely naked. I never went up there because I didn't want to be like that guy going up there. Oh, I get to see boobies up there, and I wasn't intending on dropping my skivvies, so there was no purpose for me to go up there at all. Liberal Dan, we need to meet up when you make it to San Diego. We might do that. We were in California, I think in 2019 as well, or 2018 was it? I think it was in 2018 we went out to California in the fall. I have family out in near the Los Angeles area, but I know my wife does want to go down to San Diego if we go out there. So it's a very good possibility that we could meet you and the fam when we go out there. Especially if we're going to do the relocation cruise and have to kill some time. If we do come, you'll have to look up some good gluten-free stuff so my wife can eat, because that's the most important thing when it comes to travel with my wife, is that she has celiac, so we can't just eat anywhere. We have to make sure that everything is safe. And one of the things that we've read about Carnival and cruise lines in general, that they are becoming better and better at making sure that people's dietary restrictions are met, especially with things like cross-contamination and stuff. They take it a lot to take it a lot more seriously than some other places might be. Julie Swenson, Portland used to have Ron Jeremy's Swingers Club. It was called Club Sesso. Now it's under new management and has a different name under his arrest, or after his arrest. I don't know if does Sesso mean anything specific to Ron Jeremy. I mean, the only thing I know about Ron Jeremy is that he's a big Jewish guy with a massive thing for pornography. Yeah, so I don't know if that has any specific meaning for him or not. But yeah, he was. I mean, talk about a porn. One of the first few porn stars to make it into the mainstream was Ron Jeremy, of all frickin' people. You had Tracy Lords and you had Ron Jeremy, are the two people who I think first crossed over into mainstream. Very cool meeting the fam. You will send us gas money ahead of the meet, right? Maybe. We'll see. Well, if Liberal Dan Radio takes off by the time we get out to San Diego, maybe I could just have contests for gas cars. Maybe by that time we'll be on fully electric vehicles. You never know. Not sure about the name meeting. I actually met him. That's cool. I mean, hopefully he was nice to you and didn't do anything improper or anything that you didn't consent to. Because, I think that was the problem, was somebody underage who therefore couldn't consent. Was that what he was locked up for? I don't remember. I don't necessarily want to put Ron Jeremy in a search bar, because then I'm going to start seeing Facebook ads for porn. Because, you talk about, let's see, I'm not sure about the name meaning. That's the same thing. I already read that. What was it? Lost my train of thought. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that's a good time to see. West Webb, I have in Mexico. What did you do in Mexico? I don't know. He was decent, but I was with my husband at the time, so who knows? He might have considered it a challenge. I don't know. It was a long time ago. Go to an incognito window search. I could always, yeah. But then again, if you're the fact that I'm talking about Ron Jeremy and my phone is right next to me, all bets are off. Because again, I think I talked about this too already as well. When I had a conversation about my wife's uncle, we were at his house for Christmas. And some of y'all might have heard this already, but we were having a conversation, and he happened to bring up, because he was a nurse, he happened to bring up flesh-eating genital bacteria. And I was like, I didn't want to hear about this, especially before dinner. But I guess you're a nurse, so you're used to talking about lots of stuff that are gross things. And then 3 days later, I'm looking at my ads on Facebook, and one of the ads is for medicine for flesh-eating genital bacteria. And I'm like, really, phone? I mean, I know phones listen to you, but that's just ridiculous. Daily News, 21 people watching and 30 likes, good numbers. Yes. They are definitely up from before. Still looking to get them up. Demonox, gotta run Netflix and chill with the other half. Netflix and chill, huh? Is it sex with Demonox? Or sex, with Demonox? Say hi to the better half for me, Demonox, since they haven't joined us recently. Again, thank you for joining the chat. And again, hopefully, the alternate universe where Demonox does lots of podcasts happens here soon too. So Julie said, now Swinger Club suggestions are going to pop up in your Facebook feed. That's possible. Again, I should do like Liberal Dan Undercover. Investigating the world of swingers. Maybe I'll find Lauren Boebert. Stumble across Lauren Boebert or some other conservatives out there and be like, oh, look at that. More debauchery and hypocrisy on the part of conservative politicians. I mean, you did have, was it Madison Cawthorn, who said that there are a bunch of hypocritical politicians out there doing like a bunch of sex, a bunch of orgies. I think he said sex orgies, and that's kind of redundant. But having orgies in Washington, D.C., and supposedly he was, I don't know if he was invited to one or not, but him ratting them out, at least partially, might have been one of the reasons that somebody went after him, because they didn't like the fact that he was revealing their big secret. Although I'm sure it's not a big secret, because I'm sure everybody just assumes that politicians are scumbags who are all cheating on their spouses or what have you. Key bumps. Key party. You have a key party in D.C. Imagine ending up with Ted Cruz grabbing your key. That's just wrong. Julie, not Bobo. I mean, she's the one who's the most in the news recently for her alleged activities in and around the bedroom. So again, not shaming if she did that. Not shaming if she did all that. Good for her. Just don't be a hypocrite. Don't be a hypocrite. Or you might continue to be hypocrite of the week. Maybe if more of stuff comes out about that, maybe Lauren Boebert could be hypocrite of the year this year. Unlike Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was last year on the fly, because I forgot to make the audio before the end of your show started, and so I had to do it on the fly and play the audio and be like, this week's hypocrite of the week is Mitch McConnell, or hypocrite of the year is Mitch McConnell. So I might not be in sync with the narration about what, I don't know. Anyway, I think maybe there's a alternate universe where the Liberal Dan Radio podcast is a show just about sex and swinging. Who knows? That would be funny. That would be an interesting conversation. And I'm definitely going to be getting. I'll have to take account of how many of suggested groups I get in my feed or whatever, simply because I had this conversation on the show this week. So I think I'm going to go ahead. West Webb, that would be a whole new world. I can show you the world. Big and naughty and kinky. Just don't be very stinky on a magic carpet ride. A magic carpet ride, a euphemism for something? A whole new world. Sorry. I have to subject you to my voice and my parrot. Because see, that's the thing. Here's the thing, Wes. I have this thing about me. Yeah, carpet, exactly. Carpet ride. I mean, clearly that's the joke, right? A whole nude world. There it is. A whole nude world. There you go. That's the thing, Wes. And that I have this thing where if I come up with a parody idea, it's very hard for me to not just go all in and just start trying to write that parody. And I don't think that parody is going to make it up on either my Liberal Dan Radio channel or my nerdydan.com channel. New World can't be the left would spoil it. What? New World? I think you're missing a word or something. But yeah, I don't think that parody. I have parodies on Liberal Dan Radio here on YouTube. I have parodies on nerdydan.com's YouTube channel as well. The nerdydan.com one, I actually did. I realized that Let's Talk About Sex from Salt and Pepper matched up almost exactly well with Not Throwing Away My Shot. And so I took the instrumental of Not Throwing Away My Shot, sped it up a bit, and it fit perfectly with just one teeny tiny little adjustment towards the end. And so if you go to nerdydan.com on YouTube, you can see that video as well. I may very well have linked it in my parodies playlist here as well. It's another thing you can do if you want to support me in general. Go subscribe to the nerdydan.com on YouTube. And actually, if you go to nerdydan.com, and just the website, it has links to my Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. But all of those are the same name. Nerdy Dan, DOTCOM. So if you want to subscribe to nerdydan.com on YouTube as well, and support the Twitch as well. I'm trying to become a Twitch affiliate for gaming stuff as well. But the more this takes off, the less I kind of focus on that. But I have somewhat of an in when it comes to like some of the stuff I talk about, because I watch some professional wrestling, sports entertainment or whatever, and my cousin is very big in the sports entertainment world. And I literally, if you ever seen the website Sportskeeda, my predictions for the last WWE Premium Live event were published on Sportskeeda. So all because my cousin Bill Apter is very popular in the wrestling industry. So West Web, I just hit the reset. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing the link. And there's a page on there that just says find me online, and that has all the links, so you can go to all the links. And I already have enough followers on Twitch to make affiliate, but I don't have enough viewers on Twitch to make affiliate, and it's only an average of 3 an hour. But you can email, if you want to email me, liberaldanradio@gmail.com, and let me know if you'd be interested in, like, maybe I might do gaming while talking politics. I haven't done much politics on my gaming channel, even though when I play Animal Crossing, my character's name is Liberal Dan. So, because initially when I was gaming and doing a lot of gaming stuff, I was putting Liberal Dan as my gaming name everywhere, so that people would be like, oh, Liberal Dan, well, let's look up Liberal Dan, and then find Liberal Dan. And if you look up Liberal Dan, most of the hits are me, except for a couple of them, which are this wrestler who goes by Liberal Dan, who is like a bad guy in conservative areas and a good guy in liberal areas. But yeah, if you want to email me, liberaldanradio@gmail.com, and if you're interested in seeing, maybe I could organize some like gaming while talking politics type thing, and kind of do it that way and try and get my viewership up there so I could hit that point where I get to whatever. I don't think I'm going to commit to doing, like, having the stream be on Twitch and YouTube, at least not yet, to have the podcast stream both places, because I want to build this before I build that. But I want to build this before I create a nerdydan.com or a Liberal Dan on Liberal Dan Radio on Twitch. Before I do that, I want to make sure that this gets monetized first. But I still do want to do some gaming stuff and some other stuff as well. So if you have any interest in doing that, if you play games yourself and want to play those games with me. I almost said if you want to play with me, which is a dangerous thing to say after we were talking about all that sex stuff earlier. But if you want to play games with me, and let's say you have like a console, like I have a Switch, but any game that can be played on the console or on your PC, if you want to get together and do some gaming while chatting politics, I'm cool with that too. That would be fun. That could be fun to do as well. I am a nerd at heart. I'm a nerd about many things. I'm a nerd about gaming. I'm a nerd about wrestling. I'm a nerd about politics. I'm a big politics nerd. That's why I like to do all the stuff that I do as well. And I think that this will be the end of this week's episode. I think we've talked enough. So I'm going to go ahead and end it. Again, if you want to support the show, again, subscribe here, like this video, go watch some of my other videos as well. Like those videos, share the videos, share the channel with other people. Let everybody know that, the podcast is going on. Go follow my Liberal Dan on Facebook, Liberal Dan Radio on TikTok, YouTube, as well. Also, the nerdydan.com stuff as well. Go to nerdydan.com and see all that information as well. Until next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, unless I make a video before, or unless I do another live reaction before, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.